Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of my WICSO. And in today's episode, we're actually going to not see some more discovery, more of countries forming to start trade routes all across Asia and set up places for people to rest. This is really going to change how the economy works in my series. So let's go ahead and see what happens. Alright, for today's episode, for this gray country, we're going to just see them minimally expanding into the territories I just highlighted like that and colored in like so. But other than that, we're really just going to see this whole area get filled in. So let's go ahead and see that. So let's go over here and see what happens with these countries. Alright, so we're going to see, hold up, leaking that map early. But, so we're going to see this little area be explored into, and then let's go ahead and make some new countries. Now, there's not a lot of yellow in this area, so let's go ahead and pick a yellow country and put some countries in. Alrighty, so here we see the creation of this new orange country funded by the Ottomans and the Koreans. The Chinese didn't really get involved in this, but they were funding this orange country a little bit. Now they're almost fully connected with them, so we're actually going to see people moving to this pink country, and this country is going to expand one more time. Alright, let's go ahead and see this pink team expand. This will be the expansion of the gray team with their goal to reach up with this lake, and they're just going to expand like so. So we're also going to see this pink country wrap around this lake, connecting up over here with this gray team. Alright, let's go ahead and map this out. So we see this pink team doing the most expansion here, and this is really going to lead to China and Korea becoming super wealthy because they basically control all of these countries with the Ottoman Empire. So it's really going to change how we see countries evolve, change economically, and we're really going to see a powerhouse of economics in Asia. Now, I really want to make Asia sort of be the main powers here instead of Europe. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but we are going to see a lot more happening in Asia. So, what should we do? Hmm, let's go ahead and look at Ethiopia, or this whole region, the Horn of Africa. Now, since this region is always sort of an important area, we're actually going to see poor people from all over this area, Persian Gulf and the Ottomans. So a ton of unwealthy people are actually going to form this new sort of red country, dark red country. This dark red country is going to be colored like that, but let's go ahead and make their borders in the Horn of Africa. Now, every country is taken of their wealth. No country is rich anymore. So you have tons of Europeans, some people in the wealthier countries who are being suppressed as the lower class, forming a sort of socialist country, democratic socialist country, with a little bit of control over their market. Not much, but they're really going to be leading into a sort of working early form of socialism that a lot of people are actually going to like. But other than that, a lot of countries hate them since a lot of their population has gone into the Horn of Africa. So this is going to become a quick powerhouse in Africa. So let's actually go over here into the Greenland area. So what we see here is a early, very early voyage. They're going to voyage all throughout here and discover, like, all this land. They couldn't go over here because they wouldn't survive the cold, but they discover here. They're a little scared to go on the coast, so they don't make any landings. But we have the first discovery of North America in the tip of Greenland. Now, this is all the land that they can really explore in Greenland since it's super cold. And this is from the Nordic countries and Ireland. So they're not really going to pay any thought to this. They're just like, aren't another landmass, ain't that important, larger than some others, but they don't really tell anyone. It really don't matter to them. And it really wouldn't matter to anyone, to be honest. But other than that, we're going to see this Nigerian tribal group actually form a country. So let's go ahead and give them a capital. Now, we see the Nigerians forming a country here in just about where Nigeria was. But here we actually see the African population of all these countries be like, hey, maybe we should do the same thing as these two countries. So they're going to be like, this Moroccan country is going to be like, all right, let's use as much resources from our home country as much as we can, and they're just gonna be like, hey, let's discover these islands and let's expand more down the coast of Africa. So we're going to go ahead and see that. So I made these borders really quickly, but this is just going to be Morocco abusing their power of expansion. Now, this is going to be the only country, well, soon to form country, that's going to be really abusing this. So let's go ahead and see all these African colonies sort of declare their independence from their home countries. Now, Tunis might actually be a really interesting country to play on. So let's go ahead and see what we're going to do with this. Alright, these are going to be the new borders of Africa. Some new countries. Egypt, I'm probably going to do a lot with. Sort of make them like this country. And I forgot to put a capital and major city in this country. But they are sort of a socialistic country. So we're going to see a lot of people moving, and Africa is just going to be super wealthy compared to our real timeline. So let's go ahead and finish this episode off with the dissolving of the Prussian Union. So this side of Prussia is actually going to win, and they're actually going to downgrade their major city capital to a major city, because most of these people on their side of the country don't agree with how they're being treated, and they wanted to be more treated like the people living on this side. So they're going to agree to that. And then they're going to get this from Sweden. Oh, that's my bad, guys. They're going to get this little area from Sweden, fully uniting Prussia again. And first thing we see here is this Denmark nation getting invaded. So let's go ahead and map that out. My bad, not Denmark anymore. Used to be in Denmark. They moved quite a lot, actually. I just realized that. So this Prussian country being more unified, they're actually going to push into Denmark, well, what used to be of Denmark. It's sort of moved for a lot of the episodes. It went from here to here. That's a pretty far distance. I might have a country that just moves around. I don't know yet. Let me know in the comment section if y'all would actually like that. But actually, we're going to see the Prussians push over here to sort of set up a quick area that they could easily defend. Nothing much. They're just going to set it up. And then what we're actually going to see here is loss of this whole area being completely rolled over, taking their first capital. So they're actually going to push back a lot, connecting up with here. So because the Prussians now just unified, the Orange Polish countries like I actually really liked that group of people in your country. It's not cool to remove their freedoms. And they're gonna be like, so we don't care. So the orange team's gonna get real mad. And they're just going to push into Prussia, like so. They're going to push all across their coast, making the Prussians scared because their capital's on the coast. So what we actually see here is early peace with Denmark because the Danish are like, we're done. We're done. We ain't fighting no more wars. Goodbye. Orange team, good luck. So actually what we see here is, my bad, not full annexation. What we see here is a push, just wrong color. My bad. I've been messing up a lot today. But what we see here is a push for this major city, and they're just going to spear it up, take it. They're going to try to form another spearhead off of this spearhead, but they're already going to push them back, and then people are just going to be rebelling. Now, this Polish country did arm its people before they started invading into the Prussians. So they're really just going to be like, hey, if you don't do anything to Denmark, we're going to take less land from you. And this Polish country is actually going to be a good sign of democracy. Now, saying their troops are armed, they also have some Prussians on their borders that are armed and will fight them. But we honestly don't see anything really happening with that. They're just on the border. It's not really a big deal. But then they start pushing over here, cutting off this. And then this whole area capitulates. Boom. They're done. They're out. And they can't do nothing about it. All they got is this. So here we actually see this. It's not in Bavaria. Sort of looks like Bavaria though. We're gonna see this Bavarian country pushing into the Prussian team. So let's get a new color. They're going to push like that, forming two spearheads. The Prussians are not going to be expecting this, and this was the area that was in the other monarchy, so they're just going to mainly surrender over to this country. They don't like the orange team that much. They mainly like Bavaria more, so that's why they're surrendering over to them. And they just want to unify with Bavaria, no matter culture differences and all that. They really like how everything's going in Bavaria. So actually, the Bavarian team's actually going to leave this war. And the Prussians are going to be like, no, you did not. We just fought you off. And you're leaving this war. And they're going to be mad. I don't know why my thing's doing that. It shouldn't be doing that. Hold up. Tolerance is good. Yeah, I don't know what's the problem with that. I'll find out eventually. But for now, we're just going to have to deal with that. I'll adjust how I record. Never mind. I fixed that. But we're actually going to see a push here. So the Prussians are completely drained. They've had sanctions upon sanctions of goods from every single other country. So they're gonna be like, nope, bro, we're good. Just mess with us. The military don't care no more. They don't care at all. So they're just going to get pushed back so much so that we actually see the orange team winning. And they ain't even gotta do much. They're going to spearhead for this city. Spearhead for this city. They can do whatever they want. They encircle here, taking their borderlands here. And they're gonna be like, Prussia. So, if you change your government, we will allow you to live, but you're also going to be influenced by us a whole lot, and we're also going to shift the border a little bit. So the Prussians are going to agree to that, but they're really mad. So they don't take long to agree, but they do take a while. So we're actually going to see Denmark get started back up again and sort of rebel from the Prussians because they capitulated. They're going to rebel from their military force occupying them. So let's go ahead and see that mapped. Here we go. The Danes are back. So the Danes are actually going to be really strong this time around. Mainly because their people really support this war. Hold up. They really want to claim this territory over here just to unify the Danes a little bit more. Unify the Danes and Germans. They ain't really much different. So they're just going to be like, we're done, Prussia. We're out. Have fun. And nobody's going to complain here but Prussia. But they are going to be shrunk so much by this. So let's go ahead and see a peace treaty. So we're actually going to be seeing the Bavarians becoming the Hungarians. Because they look like Hungary now. I'll just transform them that easily. So actually we see a pretty messed up thing the orange team's gonna do. They're going to be like, no, nah, you wanted to mess with Denmark. You're gonna mess with borders in general. So they're gonna be like, bam. So let's go ahead and make this less horrible. So let's go ahead and map this out. So for the provinces that I have in this area, we're gonna fix up some of these later on once I fully introduce this. I really do gotta fix most of these up. Borders have changed so much, and it's really been hard to keep up with this. But I am getting help with that, so let's close out of that. But we're actually going to see, hold up, the government change happen real quickly after this war, and the Prussians are going to be like, nah, we ain't doing this. And then the government's going to be overruled completely because all the Prussians side with the orange team because they want democracy, they want choice. So they're going to be like, alright, fine. But for the last event in this video, we are actually going to see unification between the Danish and the Swedes. So let's go ahead and map that out. We're going to see the capitals just turn into the Swedish capital. And I think it's almost ready to be one of the most powerful nations. I'd say they are. Yeah, they're one of the most powerful nations, if not the most powerful. I'll let everybody judge that. Here, make a top 10 power ranking, right? And then put it in my comments. Alright. I'm going to make a thumbnail for the first time on Canva, hopefully. But here we go. This is the map. There's lots of border changes. But I hope y'all enjoy. Love y'all. And hope y'all have a good day. And if you don't, I hope you have a good day tomorrow. This was pre-recorded on Friday. Will be posted on Sunday. But just have a good day. No matter what anyone says, you matter. And if you don't think you matter, someone else thinks you matter. Just know that. And have a good day.